Hey everyone, it's Chris here, and today I'm going to be telling you a little story. The story of how I came to own this beautiful bike right here. Now, I'm not the best storyteller, so I'm going to try to make it as interesting as possible. We're going to be doing it on the trails. Alright, where to begin? So, I've always been a bike rider my whole life. You know, that's just what I love doing. I started as a kid like anyone else, jumping off curbs and riding around with your friends, having fun. And eventually over the years I got into doing cross-country mountain biking, you know, through the forest, through the trails. Kind of like this, just not as muddy. From there, I got into doing, you know, jumping, riding street and stuff, skate parks. Of course, there wasn't really any skate parks when I was a kid. Not any that I could get to, so, you know, we just rode wherever we could. And I always wanted a dirt bike. I thought they were the coolest thing ever. I think, you know, most kids do. But for one, I could never afford one. And two, it's kind of hard to have a place to ride a dirt bike. It's nice now that I'm older and I can have a dual sport like this where I can, you know, ride it really wherever. But you don't have a trailer or a truck, you know, you don't always have places to ride them. So it just kind of faded away and I stuck with mountain biking. And when I turned 16, all my friends were getting their licenses, and of course I had a pretty late birthday, so I never really bothered getting my license. Especially since most of my friends go out and buy a car and end up selling their bike. Hang on, I'm going to enjoy this. We'll keep the story going at the next section. Man, what a view, eh? So anyway, get back to the story. A lot of my friends would end up selling their BMXs and stuff to get a car, and you know, cars are cool, but I don't know, I just never wanted to be one of those guys. And fast forward a couple years, I'm 18, 19, you know, 20. I still don't have my license. Kind of started to get nervous. I didn't want to fail. I was kind of scared to try, so I just never did it. Fast forward another 3-4 years, I was filling in for my friend. He went away on vacation for a week and he needed someone to fill in for him at his job, so I took the opportunity. I didn't have much going on at the time, and after that week, you know, they kept me around for a little bit to help fill in. They were pretty busy. Another couple months go by and he decided he was going to move on and do something else. So now I'm working out in the country, no bus route, no real way to get there, no license, and I don't know how it works where you live, but where I am, if you go write your car license, your beginner's car license, it's a minimum of 8 months before you can drive by yourself. So that really wasn't an option. But if you go write your motorcycle license, you can buy a bike the next day, and there you go. You can buy any bike. You can buy a 1000cc sport bike, you can buy a Harley, you can buy a cool dual sport, and you're allowed to just go ride. So I did what any logical person would do, and I wrote both beginner tests at the same time, and I started shopping for bikes. But going back to my background in, you know, mountain biking and street riding and stuff like that, I couldn't just buy any old bike. I had to buy something I could have some fun on. So started looking into dual sports. You know, I could finally live my dream of having a dirt bike. I know it's not a dirt bike. All you hardcore dirt biker guys are gonna give me crap for that, but it's good enough for me. I can still do stuff like this. So I went out to start looking for bikes. Ugh. Now I was looking at the Yamaha, the WR250, and the Honda CRF 250L. And I was leaning towards the Honda because, you know, it's a cheaper bike, about $3 grand cheaper. And just as a beginner, you know, I didn't need anything crazy, so I went out to look with my dad, and him and his friends all rode motorcycles when they were kids, so yeah, he was pretty excited about the whole idea. He thought it was pretty cool. So he took me out to look for bikes. Like I said, I still didn't have my license, so somebody had to do it. I went to a dealership in Brantford. I can't remember what the dealership was, but going to look at the Honda and the Yamaha. And I walked in the door. I saw something I wasn't expecting. I saw a nice bright green Kawasaki. Now obviously this isn't the bright green one, but it's the same bike. You know, I thought that looks pretty interesting. But I was there to look at something else. I moved on, I looked at the Honda, I looked at the WR, I compared some prices, but I just kept coming back to this, you know, just the way certain things were done. The way the exhaust was routed, and I don't know, something about it just clicked with me. Now they say you shouldn't buy the first bike you saw, but I guess it worked out, because I went home and I started doing some research. Turns out it's a pretty damn good bike, at least for a beginner. It's not crazy powerful or anything, but I think it's better than the Honda, that's for sure. And for pretty much the exact same price, where, as I said before, the WR was about $3 grand more. So but the biggest problem for me was the bright colors. I know I have these lime green handguards on here now, but I wasn't into the big flashy, you know, bright colors. And plus, I was going to use this thing for daily commuting, and I live pretty close to downtown in a city, and I'm not trying to bash anyone or discriminate here, but there's quite a lot of homeless people and people who are using drugs and stuff, and everybody knows what a Kawasaki dirt bike looks like. It's certainly going to draw attention, so I was going to paint any of the bikes I got anyway. One day my dad sends me a message. Turns out this is a dead end. Now, as it turns out, they made a black version. which is this one. Now it's a couple $100 more, but fully powder coated engine and frame and swing arms. It just seemed like the perfect thing. So I bought it. And like I said, I've never even ridden a motorcycle before. I had ridden my buddy's pit bike once, a little 50cc. I rode it down the field and back. I think I shifted into second gear. That was my experience with motorcycles. So again, I did what any logical person would do, and I decided I was going to ride it home from the dealership. I bought all my gear and watched pretty much every video on YouTube on how to ride a motorcycle, and I went to pick it up. I got down there, I got all my gear on. The guy gave me a quick run through in the parking lot, you know, this is how you turn it on, stuff like that. And I got on it. Now I must have stalled about 15 or 20 times in the parking lot, just being so gentle on it. I didn't want to be that guy who loops his bike out. Little did I know, this thing does not have the balls to loop you out in a parking lot. Unless, of course, you crack the throttle wide open in first gear and drop the clutch. But it does still have the power to do that. So anyway, I finally get the hang of this thing. I decided I should probably, you know, go out on the road, do a couple quick turns, maybe go down the block before I headed off on my 45-minute ride home. And as soon as I pulled out of the parking lot, made a right turn, some guy comes by on his nice big Harley cruiser, and he does the biker wave to me, and I wave back, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I've made it. I'm a motorcyclist. I'm part of the club. And I went down the street about, you know, 300-400 feet, and there was a church there. Pulled into their parking lot, did a couple turns, and thought, hey, this is good enough. Let's ride home. Now, the ride home was very uneventful. Everything went quite well. I think all those years of riding really did pay off. It felt pretty natural for me. I did stall it once in traffic, but you know, no big deal. Electric start, fired it up, and I made it home. Now the second day I had it, of course I took it out into the woods and I dropped it. And if you know me, that pretty much checks out. I wreck everything I own. I've broken so many mountain bikes. And I've pretty much beat the hell out of this thing ever since. But it's a champ. It held up. And now, geez, what, a year and a half later, here we are. Out riding, made a ton of friends, having the best time of my life. So that's the story of how I came to own this bike.